Okay, welcome back. So, what I have found as the remediator is that in many cases, people really don't understand what a decontamination is. First thing I want to mention is there is a huge difference between decontaminated and clean. In many cases, people expect that since the decontaminator is removing meth, that they're cleaning. Nothing could be further from the truth. The home will probably not be clean, but it will be decontaminated. Decontaminated means that the meth isn't there, or that it's at least less than the state threshold. A successful decontamination project means that whatever the meth level was in the beginning, it's less than 1.0 at the end. So technically, if the decontamination expert specialist, if he brought it from 1.01 to 0.99, technically that is a successful decontamination project. Has to be below 1.0. Now, another thing that I need to make clear, the home after it is remediated will be barren. It will have a chemical smell to it. Depending on what chemicals are used, there may be some side effects, which the decontamination specialist is not going to be willing to be held responsible for. So for example, let's say that one of the most common chemicals that is used is an ammonia blend. Now that material, it's used in restaurants, so that's one of the reasons why it is used by some. But this particular chemical it has some side effects. It's going to ruin the varnish on cabinets. So the good news is you can keep the cabinet in the house. The bad news is it might be damaged. And the varnish could be spongy, it could be sticky, it could be gross. If you've got a hardwood floor, it can stay, but the finish might be damaged. Similarly, all of these chemicals are wet, and so if you've got a hardwood floor, the wetness might be damaging the floor. The remediator is not going to take responsibility for restoring anything back to its original condition. Again, he's a remediator, and that's what his job is, that's what his goal is, and if there is a side effect, he's not going to be paying for that. For example, also in the furnace room, he's going to be going after the furnace with these chemicals. Furnace doesn't agree with these chemicals, but the goal is not to keep the furnace functional, it's to get the furnace remediated. So there may be damage to any number of parts in the furnace. So once you get this house back, there may be furnace damage, there may be wood damage, maybe the hardwood, maybe the cabinets. Depending on the chemical, there may be bubbling in the paint, there may be bubbling in on countertops. It can be a complete new project to just restore the home back to some level of livability. And then, of course, you can expect in every remediation to have to replace the carpet and pad and probably to redo the paint. So, costs associated with the remediation, let's say the remediation is $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, whatever it is. That is not the only cost associated with a remediation. In addition, if your client is the buyer, you're going to want to prepare him to know that he's got to replace carpet and pad, he's got to redo paint, he's going to have to plan some money to perhaps repair, the furnace or whatever contingencies there may be. And so what looks like a $6,000 remediation job may be $15,000, it could be more than that. And that's just going to have to be a spreadsheet decision based on what's going on at the house. And then, there's the cost of replacing everything else, the personal items. You can't replace a scrapbook, but maybe there was a washer and dryer that was thrown away, or a dishwasher that was ruined, or whatever it is. So the remediation costs can be much larger, or the overall restoration costs can be much larger than the remediation costs. You want to make sure that you are clear with your client, whether they are the buyer or the seller, that these costs are not light.